On a cool 60-degree cloudy night here in Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome to Thursday Night Football on Fox, NFL Network, and Amazon Prime Video, brought to you by Bud Light Platinum. And welcome to First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns since 1999, as we kick off Week 7 on this Thursday night in late October. It's an old classic, old-fashioned AFC matchup between the 3-3 Denver Broncos and the 3-3 Cleveland Browns. Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the broadcast booth here at First Energy Stadium. I'm Tamir Moore. Thank you so much for being with us. We have a huge AFC battle to kick off Week 7. The Broncos visit Cleveland this week to play the Browns on Thursday Night Football. And the Browns have a pretty lengthy injury list. I think I have it here. See this here? This is the injury list for the game, and we'll get into that in just a moment. The Broncos have won 3 of their last 4 Thursday Night Football appearances. The Browns have an 8-8 record all-time on Thursday night. The Browns have won their last 3 Thursday night games. The Broncos come in with a record of 3-3. They started the season 3-0, but Denver has lost the last 3 weeks to Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Las Vegas last week, 34-24. So Denver had a great start, but now they are deteriorating and they're falling apart quickly. Last week, the pass rush, 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. And you look at Denver pass rush for the season, quarterback hits is in bottom 10 of the league, tied for 24. And as far as pass percentage is concerned, it looks like here, or as pass percentage is concerned, they rank 9th in the NFL. Denver's pass defense, though, is pretty solid this year. 84 rating, which is 4th in the league. And yard per game ranks 11th in the NFL. Last week, though, they were smoked by Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, 341 yards and a quarterback rating of 134.4. Denver's rush defense is pretty decent this year. Less than 4 yards per carry and 85 yards per game is what they're allowing opposing running backs for the team that the Broncos play. Broncos quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, who's resurrecting his career with the Denver Broncos. Last week, you look at Teddy Bridgewater's numbers, a little bit of a mixed bag against Las Vegas. He threw for more than 300 yards. That's great. The bad news is he threw 3 picks. Yes, he threw 3. Yes, I should say Teddy Bridgewater did throw 3 touchdowns, did throw 3 picks, 334 yards, and a quarterback rating of 84.9. For Teddy Bridgewater so far this season, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks, and a quarterback rating hovering around 100. For the Broncos, their offense is primarily consisting of a three-headed monster, tight end Noah Fant and wide receivers Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton. Last week against Las Vegas, Bronco tight end Noah Fant had 11 targets, 9 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton, who missed all of last year because of injury. Great to see Courtland Sutton back. 14 targets, 8 receptions for 94 yards, and a touchdown last week against the Raiders. And let me type in Courtland Sutton injury from last year so we know. Yes, ACL injury. He had an ACL injury last year. So we are so excited to see Courtland Sutton back. He had an ACL injury, missed basically all of last year, but Courtland Sutton back, and he's having a great year so far. And Tim Patrick, who is one of the most underappreciated and suddenly talked about receivers in football, has 6 targets, 3 receptions, 42 yards and a touchdown in Week 6 in their 34-24 loss against the division rival Las Vegas Raiders. In each game this season, the Broncos' offensive line has allowed at least 2 or more sacks. Their third down offense is last in the NFL in red zone 28. The Broncos definitely need to take advantage of third down and red zone. They're pretty poor, pretty substandard. Denver needs to sharply improve those areas. But you look at Melvin Gordon last week, the Broncos running back, 10 carries for 50 yards, 5 yards per carry, a pretty average day for him. And you look at the AFC West, the Broncos only trail the Chargers and Raiders by 1 game. The Chargers and Raiders are both 4-2 heading into Week 7. The Broncos and Chiefs are 3-3. So Denver, they lose tonight. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but Denver definitely needs to stop the skid in this 3-game losing streak. Meanwhile, the Browns come in with a record of 3-3, just like the Broncos. The Browns started the season 3-1, but over the last 2 weeks, they have been absolutely dominated by their opponents. 2 weeks ago, they played the Los Angeles Chargers. They lost 47-42, despite the fact that Cleveland had a late game comeback potential in the making, but they fell just short. And last week, they got creamed and trounced by the Arizona Cardinals here at First Energy Stadium, 37-14. And the big story, of course, for the Cleveland Browns this week is that their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, will sit out because of a shoulder injury. Case Keenum, who's best known for his touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs back in 2017 playoff for the Vikings, the Minneapolis Miracle, will start in his place. And you take a look at the injury report like we see here. Some injuries to note. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Their top 2 running backs are both out, both with calf injuries. Nick Chubb is out at least for this week. Kareem Hunt will miss 4 to 6 weeks. And Baker Mayfield, we do not know how long his injury will be, but Case Keenum will start this week, and we'll see if they start Keenum in their game next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then they play the Bengals, and then New England, and then so on. But for the Denver Broncos, as you can see right here, they got some folks on the injury report as well, including Teddy Bridgewater, who was limited in practice this week with a foot/quad. He is questionable, so we will see if Teddy Bridgewater is eligible to play in this game. He probably will, but we'll see. And let me see who the backup quarterback is here. And I'm just seeing if we got... Give me a second here. I'm trying to see if we have a backup, trying to see the Broncos, their roster. So give me a second here. Give me a second, because I know gotta be in here somewhere. Alright, let me look something up here. Hang on a second. So Teddy Bridgewater is questionable. And the other quarterback they have in their roster is Drew Lock, who was the former starter before Teddy Bridgewater came here in the offseason with Carolina. And Brett Rippon is the other 2 quarterbacks on the Broncos roster in case Teddy Bridgewater can't go. But he should be fine, should play. We'll see if it's actually the case or not. Going back to the Browns, though, like I was saying, Mayfield's out, Chubb's out, Hunt's out. So Cleveland is decimated by injuries. That's putting it mildly. The offensive line allowed 18 sacks, and Odell Beckham Jr. questionable with a shoulder, and Odell Beckham Jr. coming off his ACL injury last year himself. So you talk about the Cleveland Browns definitely need a break from the injuries. Not working out that way as we are now in week 7. Can't you believe it? This is the 7th week of the season. We're nearly midway through the season. One person to look out for the Browns is their emerging wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 1 yard and 2 touchdowns in their 37-14 loss here to Arizona last week. Pass defense against Kyle Murray. They allowed him to score for 4 touchdowns, no pick. Quarterback rating 129.0. Brown pass defense, they have to get better. And Cleveland, their defense has been shredded up. And Cleveland, there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of despair. There's a lot of disappointment. Some of the adjectives you'll use here to adequately tell a story of how disappointing the Browns are. They are one of the disappointing teams in the NFL. Last season, the Cleveland Browns were so exciting to watch because it seems like the Browns were finally turning in the right direction. The wins are finally coming. Cleveland 11-5 last year. They beat Pittsburgh, first playoff win in more than 25 years before they lost to Kansas City. This year they're 3-3. Cleveland needs to get healthy, and tonight we'll see how the Browns do. They can really use a bye week. Unfortunately, their bye week is not until week 13, which puts us at the week after Thanksgiving, late November, early December. So the Browns, they have a brutal stretch here. But the good news is they do have a mini bye after tonight's game. Because of this, the Thursday night game, they'll get 10 days to get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will be here next week. So for Cleveland, this is the second game of a 3-game homestand. And for Denver, this is a brief 1-game road trip. Next week, they'll host Washington, the Broncos will, then at Dallas, home for Philadelphia, then Denver by week 11, and then they'll hold the Chargers in week 12. Meanwhile, for the Browns, Tonight's game against the Broncos, Steelers here next week. Then the Browns visit Cincinnati, at New England, home for Detroit on November 21st, and then at Baltimore on November 28th. That's a Sunday night football game on NBC Thanksgiving weekend. Pass defense for the Browns is pretty bad. 25th in rate and 15th in yards per attempt. And the pass rush, though, is pretty good, however, for Cleveland. 18 sacks and second there in the pass. And look at the rush defense. Cleveland is pretty hard to run against, right? Third in yards per carry and sixth in yards per game. The Browns have a 2-1 record here at First Energy Stadium. And this is a big game for Cleveland because they trail Baltimore by 2 games in the AFC North. And the way the Ravens are playing, you do not want to lose any ground to them here as we kick off Week 7 in the NFL. These two go way back. They had several memorable AFC Championship and playoff meetings in the late 80s. Tonight, the Broncos and Browns rekindled their old rivalry here at First Energy Stadium. Thursday Night Football, Week 7 kickoff game. Denver at Cleveland here at First Energy Stadium tonight at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and Amazon Prime Video. Until then, I'm Tamir Moore saying thanks for watching, and hopefully you have a chance to watch this video once it goes live on YouTube, Instagram, and all the social media platforms that I use to share my videos of these weekly pregame updates I do each and every week. So long for now from Cleveland.